Hey, this is CityCast Portland host Claudia Meza. At the end of today's episode, we have a sponsored segment brought to you by the International School of Portland. I'm talking to Bodo Heiliger, who's going to talk with me about what makes their language immersion approach so unique and why more families are turning to globally focused education right here in Portland. So stick around, especially if you've got kids in your life, because you'll also hear about their upcoming open house on April 24th and what to expect if you go check it out.
Diamore Law Group believes personal injury is about public safety, not just a settlement check. Led by veteran trial attorney Tom Diamore, with over 30 years of experience holding negligent drivers, corporations, and unsafe institutions accountable across Oregon. And clients pay nothing unless they win. If you or someone you love has been seriously injured, call 503-222-6333 or visit diamorelaw.com to schedule a free consultation.
This is CityCast Portland. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Today on CityCast Portland, we're talking about how East Portland might be slowly becoming a food desert, the return of Rene Gonzalez, and some cool wildflower hikes for you to try out. Joining me are Stumptown Savings founder Bryan M Vance and our very own senior producer Giulia Fiaoni. Thanks for being here, you guys.
Hello.
Hey.
Brian, that's twice in a week.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have to give you producer credit.
How lucky are we?
I'll take it.
Yeah. Also, just to clarify, Brian does not own a bank. Stumptown Savings is an independent, community-focused organization providing curated weekly grocery deals, price tracking, and saving strategies for local residents. I just grabbed that from your bio. I feel like I must now explain every time he's on the show because we actually got an email from a listener so surprised to learn that you're not the head of some bank.
I don't have a monocle and I'm just not sitting over here counting money.
Yeah, I mean, Stumptown Savings. Right? Like, it makes sense.
It's not the first time I've gotten it, so.
Also, he did have a point that Bryan M Vance sounds like the name of an old-timey bank owner. So
that's why I did it.
It really does.
It does. Bryan M Vance.
That's a second revenue strategy for me, so.
Go for it. People would believe you. Okay. So as most of our listeners know, before we jump into the news, I usually ask an opening question so any new listeners can get to know our guests a little better. And today's opening question is inspired by a Northeast Portland reptile shop called Hiss, offering yoga classes with reptiles. So you're doing a downward dog, you get visited by a Burmese python, an iguana, a tortoise, other pythons, other snakes. So that's going to be a strong no from Brian. That's going to be a strong no from me.
No.
Really?
No, thank you.
I love this idea.
What?
Am I the only one?
Yes.
I do not want a snake crawling all over me anytime, let alone while trying to relax. So
I feel like the way that those creatures move is so meditative, and I think that's the idea.
Saying creatures already.
Yeah, you just said creatures, not animals.
That's the idea.
Just said creatures.
It's that you have to model their like state of being. I see the vision. I would totally do this.
Just slither on the floor.
Creepy and weird? Okay.
Shed your skin everywhere.
I know. But this isn't like the only animal yoga pairing this town offers. We also have goat yoga, which, by the way, they poop a lot. So close your mouth, I'm supposing.
They also bite.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And there's also puppy yoga, which I think is awesome. In terms of strange pairings, there's also doom metal yoga. I think it's strange because doom metal seems to be very loud and chaotic, and yoga
is not that.
So I guess some people are just like, yeah, this relaxes me. I don't know. Again, not our cup of tea, but I feel like a doom metal yoga reptile yoga mashup would be next level.
That sounds
don't
fucking
you think?
awesome. I would totally go to that.
Oh my God. So my question to you, I feel like I already just came up with one, but my question to you is if you had to come up with a new yoga class, what would be your theme?
Okay, this is a fun question for me because I have recently started going to yoga pretty often, just a few times a week this past month. And I feel like there should be a yoga class that somehow incorporates moss. And what I'm envisioning is like standing on moss, having moss like being put on your face at the end of a yoga session like they do in hot yoga classes with like a lavender towel. I could see it. I personally love moss, love feeling moss. It makes me feel very calm. So I could totally see this working.
Okay, moss yoga.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Bryan?
I was not expecting that.
No.
Can I pair it with like food, like cheesecake yoga? Like for every stretch I do, I get a slice of cheesecake. I would go to yoga every day.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I was thinking brunch yoga very similarly.
Brunch yoga, yeah.
Yeah, I'm liking that. Stretching over for a mimosa.
That would be a hit in Portland.
I think it's good. I think I would go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. I feel like we're trashing reptile yoga. I feel bad now because this is someone's business.
I am going to stand up for reptile yoga.
Okay.
I'm excited for everyone who's excited for that.
Exactly.
I'm just not one of them.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You know what? Not here to yuck anyone's reptile yoga yum. But I'm just saying there are better options. That's all. On to the news of the week. Bryan, is East Portland becoming a food desert?
It sure looks like that. So Shane Dixon Kavanaugh of the Oregonian broke some news late last week that the Park Rose grocery outlet location is slated to close in August. Grocery Outlet actually announced a few weeks ago that they were planning to shutter about 36 stores nationwide, but they didn't say which stores. And now it seems that Portland, at least one of our stores, is going to be a victim of this. And actually, nearby, less than a year ago, Fred Meyer closed its Gateway location. So two fairly large grocery stores are leaving East Portland in the span of basically a year. It's tough out there if you're someone who eats food and lives east of 205. So yeah, it definitely seems like it's becoming sort of a no man's land for grocery stores.
Is Winco out there?
Winco is. Winco's model is that they don't have a ton of stores. So there's two Wincos in East Portland. And you have a few Safeways and a few Fred Meyers, but you also have a lot of shuttered Safeways and Fred Meyers, not just that Gateway location. Like, this is actually a trend that's been going on in East Portland for a while now. You actually have a lot of these big buildings that it's very clear they used to be some sort of grocery store. And now there's, a government building or a mix of different businesses in there. In a few cases, you've had grocery stores move in. So, remember when Walmart left town in Lentz. So not technically East Portland, but it is on 82nd Avenue. Hung Fat bought the Walmart in Portland and opened what is probably the largest grocery store in the state of Oregon there. But you also have a lot of these that are just sitting empty. That Fred Meyer building is a ghost town. It's pretty sad every time you drive by it.
Yeah. What is the reasoning? Like, why are these stores closing? Because I'm reading that people are saying that it's crime, that it's, stealing. And that would make sense because I used to work at a grocery store in college. And one of the first things that you are taught when you work at a grocery store is how big of a deal stealing is because the profit margins are so slim. It's something between 1% to 3% on groceries alone.
Very tight.
Yeah. Like if you're talking about like a Fred Meyer, which also has other specialty departments,
TVs
totally
and
different.
stuff. Yeah.
Totally different. But just groceries, food alone, very, very small. So like if somebody was repeatedly stealing from grocery outlet and they weren't able to recoup losses, I can imagine the owner being like, this isn't worth it. We're not making money, especially because most grocery store workers are also unionized. That's high labor costs. So this is my assumption. I'm curious what is being said.
Well, not a whole lot's being said. And what's interesting, so most people don't know this. So Grocery Outlet is technically a chain. It's a California-based chain, but each store is independently owned. So it's a franchise model. So the owner of the Park Rose grocery store does not want to close.
Okay.
He's told the city council president, Jamie Dunphy, who also lives in Park Rose, that he wants to stay open. This is a corporate decision. But that said, Don McKeever, the guy who owns the Park Rose grocery outlet store, did flag that crime was an issue. Last fall, he was saying that it was getting so bad, he was considering closing up shop himself.
Wow.
Since then, the city has done some stuff to increase security along that corridor of Sandy Boulevard. They've initiated some street cleanup efforts. But yeah, crime is an issue. It's not the only thing either, though. It's just these are parts of the city that have historically been underinvested in. And that's not just at the city level. That's also at the corporate level. Why would a business want to keep investing in an area like that? So you see a lot of businesses say crime, but it's not just crime. It's the fact that like customers aren't really coming out there because it's out of the way, or it's really hard to get to, or there's not good public transit options. And all of that just kind of adds up to a snowball effect of, if margins are tight and you can save money on cutting a lease somewhere, East Portland's where a lot of these companies choose to cut first, before the nicer, ritzier areas like Inner Hawthorne.
Yeah. And honestly, I really want to take a second to talk about like the true scope of a food desert, because it really does go beyond grocery stores closing. Because what happens is when a major grocery store gets taken out of a neighborhood, it gives people less of a reason to go to that area, so that small mom and pop restaurants and other kinds of food stores that normally could survive there with people going through the area can't either. And it becomes something where like, you not only don't have an option to go to the grocery store, you're losing a variety of options in dining. You can't go out late to get food because everything closes early, because there are so few options. It becomes this like puzzle of a situation for folks that live in that area. And it's really frustrating to see.
Yeah, the ramifications are real. I mean, you think of this Gateway Fred Meyer, that's a whole shopping center.
Yeah.
And when the largest tenant leaves, it affects all the tenants there. And it's not just restaurants. You have like tax services, you have health centers, like people doing physical therapy or dialysis and stuff like that.
Yeah. Have the city councilors of that district said anything? Because I'm curious, like what Dunphy or Loretta Smith or, anyone
Candace
else.
Avalos. They say they really want to make sure that this remains a grocery store. What's clear is it's not going to remain a grocery outlet. Like the company has said, technically the lease is over on August 1st. So they, have mentioned that they want to work with Don McKeever, the owner. They want to work with the city to find some sort of solution to keep a grocery store in Parkrose. But at this point, there's no specifics on what that would look like.
Well, what a bummer. It feels like everything about, that you were saying about East Portland, the infrastructure, the disinvestment. I don't live there, so I can't speak to crime or any of that. I could only speak to St. John's because that's where I live. That's what I see. I really don't. But I'm just curious, like, sometimes things just get hyped up and you're like, it's not that bad. And I want to hear from East Portland. Is it that bad?
Bryan, maybe you can relate to this too, but I feel like even just living still close to 205, but west of it in like Cully and Roseway, even Montevilla, I noticed there is like some level of food desert in most neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes me really do believe that it is that serious the further you go out east. Because I can only imagine, because, resources are more strained the more east you go anyway.
Absolutely. It's not just an East Portland thing. There are entire neighborhoods throughout the city that don't have grocery stores. And then you have some neighborhoods that have 3 or 4 options. And it's because of things that the city have done, things that private businesses have done to really consolidate and incentivize businesses to move into strategic corridors while these other areas get left behind.
Right. Well, thanks for looking into that, Bryan. And thanks, of course, to Shane Dixon Kavanaugh for reporting on it. Let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, the return of Rene Gonzalez. And this time he's with a lawyer famous for representing far right-wing activists. Looking for something fun and free to do with the kids? On Friday, April 17th and Saturday, April 18th, YMCA is celebrating Healthy Kids Day. It's happening at locations all across the Portland Metro and Southwest Washington. It's a national YMCA event that helps families stay active, healthy, and connected with creative projects, outdoor games, and even family swim at select sites. Again, Healthy Kids Day is totally free, and you can find your closest event and full schedule at ymcacw.org/HKD-FM. That's ymca.org/HKD-FM.
Spring home buying season is back in Portland. That home you're in love with, the Portland bungalow with room for garden beds in the backyard and easy access to the Max line, it's fetching multiple offers. If you are in the market anywhere in the Portland metro area and feel like your offers aren't getting accepted, talk to James Adair at Neo Home Loans powered by Better. James has spent more than 20 years helping Portland families get their offers accepted. And he's put together a list of 12 specific ways to improve your offer. He calls it the unfair buyer advantage. You don't need more offers. You need one that wins. Download his free playbook at unfairbuyeradvantage.com. That's unfairbuyeradvantage.com. James Adair, NMLS 272766 with Better Mortgage Corporation. NMLS 330511, an equal housing lender.
So Alex Zielinski from OPB looked into how former Portland City Commissioner Rene Gonzalez is suing the city for its handling of campaign finance complaints made against him during his 2024 mayoral run. A little background on this man. For most of his tenure, he was always pegged by more left-leaning Portlanders as a secret Republican or right-winger. And honestly, I always felt a little bad for him because the suspicion would sometimes take over the narrative, and it was hard to differentiate between rumors and his actual policies that occasionally did make sense, but were never fully embraced because, again, people were just always suspicious about his political motives. That's just some contextual color. He did run for mayor. He did not win. And in the process got dinged a few times by our city auditor for using public funds to finance his campaign and also taking in contributions that exceeded individual donor restrictions. He successfully won a lawsuit against the Portland Auditor's Office last year for violating his constitutional rights because the Auditor's Office accused Gonzalez and fined him for nearly $12,000, but then never gave him a chance to prove that he did that. So basically no due process. Now, the auditor's office has since changed policy to allow for due process to occur, but riding on that wave of that political win, Rene Gonzalez has teamed up with attorney D. Angus Lee to sue the city for violating his due process rights and any damages it could have done to his reputation. So this isn't just like, hey, overturn the fines. This is like, I'm mad. And this whole system is coming down. He's mad at the city. So he feels like he was not treated fairly. With all that contextual color I gave you, you can understand why. So just a quick aside about who his attorney, D. Angus Lee, is. If you read his name as it was spelled, it would be Dangus Lee. That's neither here nor there. That's just a fun fact. He's a Washington-based lawyer known for representing Patriot Prayer founder Joey Gibson when he tried to unsuccessfully sue Portland and Multnomah County, and Nick Sorter, a conservative social media influencer, just last year when he was roughed up during a protest near the ICE building in Southwest Portland. A decade or so ago, he was also reprimanded by the Washington State Bar for violating ethic rules, and he's just generally known in our region as a right-wing activist and cause ambulance chaser. If there's a case that could possibly be made about civil rights or free speech being impeded, and it is a right-wing cause or a right-wing, conservative activist, he's gonna be there. Anyhow, back to Gonzalez's case. Not much more info was given other than his intent to sue, with D. Angus Lee representing him. And at this point, I'm just saying he has no plans in running for office, but if he ever does, I don't think he's ever gonna be able to beat the "I'm not a Republican" allegations. You're gonna have to run in Vancouver, you're gonna have to run somewhere else because
Oregon City.
Oregon City. Yeah, just because I'm like, D. Angus Lee, that's a strong statement.
Yeah.
To sue the city with D. Angus Lee.
Has D. Angus Lee won any of these lawsuits that you mentioned?
I think he got Joey Gibson acquitted for certain charges, but a lot of his lawsuits are statements.
Yeah.
And I believe that Nick Sorter was also acquitted because of footage that came out that showed that.
He's got a decent
He's an attorney. Yeah, he's a lawyer. Yeah. He does his job. Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to remind folks that one of the issues that then Councilor Gonzalez was fined for by the city auditor was using taxpayer money to edit his Wikipedia page. This was back in October of 2024.
That was so good.
This is my take on this. I actually kind of agree with what he's doing, and I'm glad that his efforts to fight against it have changed this process within our city government, because it's altogether positive. People should have the chance to appeal when they are accused of things like this. But that is to say, what he did is still not right. And it also brought him a lot of unwanted attention that kind of snowballed into where we're at now. So we just got to remember what it was.
I'm with you, Giulia. On the face of it, he was denied due process. He deserved a chance to defend himself. But he still, I think one of the statements in Alex's piece was that, it did like irreparable harm to his reputation. It's like, no, Rene, you also did some of that, man. Like you did a lot of that yourself. Like you got to take some of this blame too.
No, he successfully canceled himself for sure. I mean, I feel like all those commissioners kind of did that on their own.
That was that whole slate. Yeah.
That whole slate. And it's unfortunate because, again, all of that clouded their policy, their dedication to the city so much. But it's just, I mean, it is what it is,
Yeah.
I do want to remind people that when it was reported by Shane Dixon Kavanaugh, by the way, the Oregonian, that Rene had, used funds and was like actively updating his Wikipedia, soon every freaking smartass Portlander jumped on it and started just adding stuff. They changed his party affiliation to Republican, of course. They called him, like, what did they call him? Like,
they call him like a big dork or something like that.
A big dork or something. Like, it was just, but the best part, I think we had an entire segment where I went to all of the edits, because you can like read all the edits in Wikipedia, and just called out the most ridiculous changes. And it was so early in the morning too, because you couldn't blame drinking. You're just like, someone got really upped on caffeine and just went on a tear. So yeah, I agree with Bryan.
That's the silliest thing about this, because he paid somebody using taxpayer money to edit something that everyone can edit.
Yeah.
It's like, what was the point?
Yeah.
And like a lot of money too.
Yeah, decent amount. Like, and it was just such an unforced error. But that said, he did have a right to his day, not in court, but in front of, the people accusing him of wrongdoing, and the fact that he didn't get that is messed up.
Yeah. For sure. And again, because of him, process has changed in the auditor's office, which the auditor, Simone Reddy herself, was just like, yeah, so glad we have a better process now. All I want is to be able to serve the city in the best capacity. So awesome. Thumbs up. But him suing the city is going to be interesting. I don't know for how much. There's just an intent now. So I guess we're going to keep an eye on this one.
Rene never goes away.
Well, let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, Giulia has some wildflower hikes for us to check out. Okay, Giulia, I want to hear about wildflower hikes, because that happens to be my favorite time to hike around. I have some suggestions, but I'm really excited. You didn't? Okay.
Yes, I didn't, and I can't wait to hear. So we're approaching peak wildflower hike season, and I admittedly have never been on a wildflower hike in my 4.5 years of living in Portland. So this year, I'm kind of determined to make it happen. And I do have some picks from our very good friend and contributor, Brooke Jackson-Glidden. So I'm going to start closer in and then move our way out to the gorge. First one on my list is Lacamas Heritage Trail, which is 30 minutes away near Camas, Washington. It's a 7-mile out and back wide flat trail in this 312-acre regional park. I had no idea this place exists. But the thing that you're going to see there is Camas lilies. And I'm the type of person that like someone will name a flower and I have no idea what kind of flower they're talking about. I need someone to describe it. So these are like these flowers that are all shades of purple and indigo. They're really beautiful and delicate. And they also have a lot of snow queen flowers, which are like these little purple bulbs. So you're just going to see a lot of purple flowers if you go. There's also a 2.5-mile long lake in the regional park area that you can hike along. There are waterfalls. There are biking trails. So lots to do. This is a great place to take young kids. Again, the trail is wide and flat. It's only about a 30-minute drive. So perfect little Sunday afternoon activity, I think.
I feel like Camas is just beautiful. Camas has some of the most beautiful.
There's a lot of stuff up there.
Yeah. I feel like you could just walk around and just see wildflowers everywhere. And that's what I think about Camas.
That's the sense that I'm getting. So I have another one here. This is Mosier Plateau, and this is on the Oregon side of the gorge, about an hour drive from Portland. It's a 3.5-mile out and back hike. And I just want to read this line from Brooke's story. It says, on this short but stunning hike, a veil of yellow balsam root and purple lupin drapes the 45-acre plateau every spring, which sounds So amazing. Again, I have no idea what those flowers look like. So the yellow balsam root are kind of like daisies, but they're in like bushels, which is amazing. It's like this bright, bright yellow color. And the purple lupin, they look like purple corn. And I think saying that like really gives people the image of like what flower it is. They're so magical looking. But there are over 30 different types of wildflowers on this particular hike. So you can see all kinds. It's not just those two. Those are the most abundant. And there's also a 2-tiered waterfall and swimming hole for this place. So if you want to go a little bit later in the season, you might be able to take a warm day out there and actually go swimming, which sounds awesome.
Mosier Plateau. I've just never heard.
I've been to Rowena Crest, which is nearby and also has a ton of wildflowers and these like beautiful panoramic views of the gorge. It's also weirdly a place where a lot of car commercials are shot because of this winding road that goes up to the top of the crest. You'll get it if you go out there. You can actually watch some pretty cool stuff happening. But I might have to check out this Mosier Plateau.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check out Rowena Crest.
Rowena Crest is awesome. It's a great little hike. Pretty flat and easy, but just awesome views.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that spot. And I've also heard a lot about the next one on my list, Dog Mountain.
Hey, that's the one.
So this one's on the Washington side of the gorge. It's about an hour drive from Portland. It's a 6.9 mile loop. And I've heard it's challenging. It's all uphill. And the peak season for the flowers that are there is actually a little bit closer to May. So you may want to wait a little bit before you go, but also go into it with a plan because this spot is popular. They call it a wildflower bonanza. You get to see views of the gorge, Mount Hood, and Mount St. Helens. But there are a couple of rules you want to keep in mind if you go. So in addition to a year-round Northwest Forest Pass, which is a $5 day use fee that you have to pay now, and you have to use that for parking basically, there's also a $2 vehicle registration that's required on weekends starting in mid-April all the way through early June. You can get it at recreation.gov. But hot tip from Brooke, hikers can skip both of these fees by just parking at the fairgrounds in Stevenson and taking the free seasonal weekend shuttle. So just do that. Just do that.
Yeah, then you don't have to fight for parking either.
Yeah. Okay, can I give you my Dog Mountain tips as well?
Please.
If you decide to go now to beat the crowd, bring some yak tracks because even though we've had a really light winter, there is still frost, and I made the mistake of going early season and just slipping and sliding everywhere. Just slipping. Yeah, because there was still ice on the floor because it is elevation, like you're going up high. And know that if you do have any kind of health issue, this is a very strenuous hike. This is bordering a dare. So this is the kind of hike that you'll see like young athletes running up and down and you're just like, stop it.
Just jerks.
You know what I mean?
Also, dogs aren't allowed, correct?
On Dog Mountain?
On Dog Mountain?
I'm pretty sure they're not.
I don't know. I feel
never
like they
brought my
shouldn't
dog.
be.
No, I never brought because
Just
it's
don't bring your
narrow.
dog.
Don't take your dog on these things.
It's very narrow. It would be so annoying if someone brought their dog unleashed like they love to do at hikes.
Do not do that, people.
Yeah. I also just wanted to shout out Coyote Wall. I feel like a lot of people don't know about that. It's also on the Washington side and has the best view, which is the Oregon side of the gorge, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And especially during peak wildflower season, there's also Catherine Arch, which is really close by. And so I just wanted to give a shout out for those two. But what's so great about Coyote Wall and Catherine Arch is if you do any of those hikes, you're so close to White Salmon. So you could go there for lunch, you can go for their dinner. You're also close to Loop De Loop, which is a really fun winery to check out. Also beautiful views. So it's just like a whole fun day. And you are able to bring your dog on Coyote Wall. And Catherine Arch leashed.
Leash always, people.
Dude,
always.
Seriously. I need everyone to feel guilty right now if they unleash their even at like Forest Park.
Literally
so
anywhere.
Annoying.
Absolutely do not do that. Yeah, just don't be
not
a jerk.
good.
And John just said that dogs are allowed on Dog Mountain. But of course, John said they must be kept on leash. I wouldn't bring a dog to Dog Mountain, honestly. It's just too narrow and it's too many people. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So I do have one more on my list, and this is Dalles Mountain Ranch. And this is on the Washington side of the gorge. It's about an hour and a half from Portland. It's a 6.9-mile loop, and it's not as strenuous as Dog Mountain, but there's still like over 1,000 feet of elevation gain. So you'll want to just be prepared for that. It's just a bunch of rolling hills blanketed in those yellow and purple flowers I mentioned. But throughout the trail, this is what makes it special. You get to see a barn from 1878, a wooden wagon, and then there's also a cemetery with the grave sites for the families who used to live on the ranch, which I think is so cool. So it's like a little bit of like a history trail. And of course, you get to see views of the gorge and Mount Hood as well. So that one I'm especially excited about. I love just like running into things like that.
Awesome. Well, I hope if you guys try any of these hikes, let us know. Tell us what you think. Send us pictures.
Yeah, please do.
I'm getting excited. I love Wildflower hikes. I can't believe you haven't been on one, Giulia. It's tragic.
I know. It's going to be
fix that.
life-changing.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for hanging out and sharing some headlines. That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, share it with a friend, rate, leave us an amazing review. And don't forget, you can support our show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Portland neighbor. You just visit membership.citycast.fm. Has all the details there. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's or at Dog Mountain.
On the top of Dog Mountain.
Yeah.
Claudia will be there. She's going to be camped out there.
See you there.